right, welcome to another episode of the Grown in Greek podcast, and I'm so excited about this conversation. But let me go over some housekeeping notes really quickly. Make sure that you like, subscribe, share, comment on social media, and of course, subscribe on YouTube at Grown in Greek Podcast. We are growing and we are having wonderful conversations, and can't do it without you. So please continue to support the movement. So, this episode's guest, she is credentialed and stamped with accolades. She earned her PhD in higher ed and her master's in sociology and education from NYU. She holds a bachelor's in English from Hampton University, HBCU. She has spent nearly 25 years focusing on strengthening capacities, sustainability, and equitable practices in nonprofits, philanthropy, and higher education administration. She is an accomplished educator, practitioner, and scholar. She has a proven track record of strengthening communities through meaningful collaboration, strategic leadership, and philanthropic investment. Currently, she's the founding director of the John Lewis Public Administration Program in School of Professional Advancement at Tulane University. She's a member of Z5B sorority. Please welcome to the Grown in Greek podcast, Dr. Halima Leak Francis. Hello, my sister.
Hello, my sister. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so happy to talk to you. Of course, we got to give shout outs and all the kudos to Mr. Eddie. He's been on the podcast, and always a wonderful conversation. So you two as a powerhouse is just it just fills my soul because you guys are doing the work. You are definitely pillars in terms of the D9, but also, you understand that not only collaboration and partnership and in marriage makes the difference, but you guys like each other and you like celebrating each other. So shout out to him, but shout out to you too. And girl, the last time I saw you, the hair was different and you are giving it today. I just got to say that. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Eddie and I like to say that we're an A to Z connection. And it's some of our richest conversations are about our relationships with our respective organization and also like how that plays out across the spectrum of organizations. And it's definitely enriched my perspective of how I work with other organizations. So other sororities, I see AKA is my sisters in love, and I see deltas and others in so many different ways, largely because of my marriage. So I really appreciate Eddie for all of that and all the support he gives.
And I like to say he's a sharp fella. He's a sharp fella now. He's a
That
sharp,
he is.
but very very astute and just nuggets all the time. So that's really dope. But so you are continuing the legacy professionally. You are the founding director of the John Lewis. I mean, that name in itself holds so much weight. He's your brother, in Greekdom, but also just talk about that. Like, how did the name? How was the program named? And you being the director, like, please talk about the gravity that you are carrying, being in that role.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. It's definitely, as I think about kind of professional moments of that bring purpose and intent and responsibility together, that was one of those moments. So I joined Tulane in 2019 to build the program. It was as a Master of Public Administration, a graduate level program, offering an MPA and various graduate certificates along with it. Around that time, Congressman Lewis had been honored at Tulane with an honorary degree. And, seeing him in that space and receiving those accolades and the recognition that he so richly deserved, for the impact that he's made on all of our abilities to vote and other civil rights that we have. Just it was so meaningful. And one of my colleagues actually came to me and said, what do you think about naming the program for Congressman Lewis? And I said, well, if we can do it, then we should do it. And as with many things, I didn't realize that the charge was, okay, well, go do it.
Right.
So, that, and it's just serendipitous how those things happen, but was able to connect with his family, and this happened
Mm.
after he had passed away. So he had passed away shortly after the honorary degree. And I was connected to his family through a Delta, who's a dear friend of mine, and we just kind of began this string of conversations, and they gave us permission to use his name for the
Wow.
naming of the program. Now, the significance of that is multi-layered. For the school that I sit in, we were the first program to be named, for the first academic program to be named for someone. Also, the naming in and of itself was wholly honorific. So he was named, the program was named under the Tulane Trailblazers Initiative. And it was done so without a financial contribution. So if you operate in higher education, it's rare that someone can name something without a financial commitment from the family or some sort of an ask, and those kinds of things. Certainly, we welcome those those contributions, but it was not a condition of the naming. And that spoke volumes to me because it really recognized, without being encumbered with a financial commitment, truly all that he's committed, and that he was deserving of this honor, particularly in the space of public administration. So his career spanned activism and government. Um, and seeing that recognition was really important. Him being a brother of Phi Beta Sigma, just that was the icing on the cake. It was
Yeah.
it was something that allowed me to, when I talk to my students about it, when I talk to my faculty about the responsibility of the name that we carry, I come from a different place because I am a Greek sister of his. So it is in the constitutional bond that we share. It has so many layers of significance. I take deeply the responsibility of leading this program, and imparting the values that he stood on throughout his career, because he is my brother, because of the unique positioning of the name, because of just all that he accomplished, and the debt, quite frankly, that I feel like I owe him. I wouldn't
Hmm.
be where I am if it weren't for him and those other ancestors like him, who made so many deep contributions. So I could go on forever and talk about
Hmm.
the significance, but I really think that that's important to understand, because you cannot do public service work, you cannot do community work if you don't have a center, if you don't have a reason, if you don't have a why, if you're not motivated in such a way that the policies that you're shaping, the practices that you are implementing, the strategies that you're developing, you cannot lead in these spaces if you do not have a human centered reason and personal connection, and that's what this represents for me.
So let's talk about that. Leadership number one. And I guess my question, with the work that you do, and all of the research, and you practicing leadership and upholding those principles with the name, in the department and in the role that you have. How do you stay grounded in that purpose and not in position,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. It's something I work
Mhm.
on daily. Um, I stay grounded in that purpose, because I have several historic markers that I look to, several personal and familial markers that I look to that remind me of my journey. They
Okay.
remind me that I operate in a continuum. I did not get here by myself. So somebody had to fight, somebody had to march, somebody had to die, somebody didn't go to college, somebody, and for me to get to where I am. So it very quickly takes me out of this place of saying, I do it alone, I've done it alone, I have to continue to do it alone. So those people ground me. Congressman Lewis is one of them. Pearl C. Anderson is another, who's a triumphant honorary Zeta, who was a philanthropist in Texas. I talk a lot about her work frequently in the work that I do in philanthropy. Zora Neale Hurston's another one I look to, more specifically her story and experience at Barnard College, where she was admitted as the only Black student at the time because they had a quota of only having two Black students at Barnard. So having the courage to be able to be the only one, or the first, or the one of few, those things keep me grounded. I constantly go back to them. I go back to the Atlanta University studies, where W.B. Du Bois talked about philanthropy as a solution, or collective giving and collective philanthropy as a solution to many of the problems that we see in the Black community. I go back to my parents' stories, my grandparents' stories. My father worked for R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company. That's what I remember growing up.
Hmm.
My early jobs in high school, I actually worked in a factory. So I can
Wow.
recall those things very clearly. And that keeps me grounded. That keeps me grounded. That keeps me focused. That is, and then when I see students who are told, socialized, or made otherwise to believe that they don't belong in a certain space, or that they can't achieve a certain thing, or where people may try to chart a path for them, I see myself and I say, no, we're
Hmm.
going to open these doors for you. Um, Yeah, Dorothy Height, her memoir, "Open Wide the Freedom Gates," that echoes in my mind throughout my work. I have a bust of Booker T. Washington in my office. So
Mm.
there's so many, and I've been intentional about doing that, because we need to see those things. We need to see those reminders as we grow and as we make progress, lest we misstep, or lest we have to go back and make some similar mistakes that are not necessary. So those things, and they strengthen me. So when I encounter the issues, because being where I am, I in many cases am the first or one of
Mhm.
few. I have to come back to somebody who understands me, or I have to have a reference point where I can go back to their stories and say, okay, they got through this in with less resources than I have. In some cases, with less knowledge than I have, or less contemporary definitions of knowledge than I have. And look at the impact that they made. Their names are inspiration for us through history. So
Mhm.
that's how I stay grounded, and my family. You mentioned Eddie in the beginning. Having a partner, having a mate who is 10 toes down for you. When we first started dating, I said to him, I want us to be able to struggle well together. Um,
Mm.
Not that I'm inviting struggle, but struggle in many ways is inevitable if you're going to do something.
Right.
Um, So how you struggle though makes all the difference. Like if we're going through some challenges, if I'm having a hard day at work and then I come home and I take it out on him. I knew I needed a partner. I needed somebody that could say, Halima, slow down. I hear you. I know you're frustrated. I know what they did, but slow down, breathe. Come here. Let me fix your plate. Let me do. And he does that in love.
Mm,
So those are the things that really keep me centered, that keep me grounded. And I'm
mm.
very intentional about that.
Well, I think it's like so dope that you guys are working. You're both intentionally working in a space where you're building leaders. Um, you focus on building sustainable communities, and philanthropy is at the heart of it and everything. But looking at like society now, the history of the world, not just this country, we are still, as a culture of people, in a I don't know, it's kind of like a crazy space, I guess, to me, because it doesn't make sense that we're still achieving firsts, and we are so like indigenous to this land. it
Mhm.
it absolutely is so frustrating. So being in the position that you're in, and with all of the weight that you carry, um with the mantle that was placed on you from the ancestors, to what you have to impart to the next generation, and then also just to be rooted as a person to look to in the current
Mhm.
state.
Mhm.
Where do you think we are? Like, where do you think we are in the trajectory of getting, making that message a I guess a regular part of who we are in culture, and so that we're not achieving so many milestones, you know what I mean? Like, so we're
Mhm.
not like being first at this. It's like a natural thing, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I hope that I'm asking that right.
When we so are is the question, where are we in a space where all of these things will be normalized, where it's not a novelty anymore?
Yes, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah. That's I don't have the answer to that. And I don't have the answer to that um because I understand the construction of the system. So we are dealing with systemic issues. Um, and the way that systems are structured. So when you look at the systems thinking literature, there's intent and design of outcomes in how a specific system is set up. So you hear people talk about systemic racism. You talk about all the systemic inequities. These things are, whether acknowledged or not, um, whether stated or not, are there is a level of intent there. There's also the dynamics of power, that perpetuate these systems. So I can best say that, when the systems are restructured, when the systems and the power that upholds these systems are redeveloped and redesigned, then we will see more frequency or more normalization of the things where we were the first previously. So I mentioned Zora Neale Hurston.
Hmm.
There was a quota which is a systemic approach to upholding how they managed emissions. When that quota went away, then more Black women started going to Barnard. So and it became, now I can't speak to the experiences, I can't speak to the other elements, but the frequency and the presence became more pronounced. I used to work for Barnard College, so that's one reason why I referenced them quite a bit. But One of the alumni groups that I worked with was in the 70s, and they had started an organization called Barnard Organization of Soul Sisters. It's called BOSS. And they were really deep in activism. One of the things that they wanted to see was the establishment of I believe, an Africana Studies program at the school, and they advocated for that as students, and they fought for that, and they petitioned for that, and they made the case, and all those other things. So alongside moving the levers of power and restructuring systems, it has to start somewhere. So somebody has to do something to say, hey, this is not what I want. This is not what reflects what my desires are or my expectations of this space that I exist in. So somebody's got to change it. And I'm going to use all the power I have at my disposal to let you know just how unhappy I am until you change it. So that might be voting. That might be philanthropic investment. That might be choosing career paths that allow you a voice in certain things, and then bringing other people along with you. So when you get in the door, you got to open the door too. So when you're talking about this deconstructing various systems, and there's community organizing literature that talks about a lot of these different things, but when you at the root of it is accessing power and leveraging power, whatever that power might be, in such a way that you can change what the policy is, what the pervasive practice is, what the norm is, and then we can start to see the outcomes or the outputs of all of those different things. So that's, I don't know when that can happen, and it's a very slow process. I do know that part. So because we're dealing with systems that are centuries old too, right? So, and I know people are like, I'm tired of waiting, and I'm tired of waiting too. I'm so tired of waiting. But the reality is that these are generational fights. These are multi-generational fights. What we do today, I may not benefit directly from it. My son might, his children might, I don't know, but they are multi-generational, and we have to see it that way. It's not just for the moment. It's not just for an instant. Because that's the other nature. It's that when you have a system that is designed and embedded, it is built for the long haul. It's not built for just 10, 15, 20 years. It's built to be a mode of operation. This is how we operate. So that has helped me when I look at things in that from that framework, to really say, what is a long-term sustainable action that I can take, or what's an action that's going to reverberate, versus what is, addressing, and you do have to address the immediate urgency of things, but I have to be thinking about both, because I want to see immediate change and I want to see systemic change. So that's something that I've put on myself in terms of imagining what I want to see. And that brings the last thing I'm going to say about this, because I don't want to take up all the time,
No.
is visioning, dreaming and visioning. I've recently started intentionally dreaming more. Like I did when I was a kid. Like when I was a little girl, I would dream that I want to do this, I want to do that. And that has opened up my capability so much more. Because my imagination is active. I'm not weighed down so heavily with what I don't like, and I'm not constantly responding to what somebody else is doing. I'm a whole lot more internally oriented, because I've taken the time to dream and to vision and to think about what the possibilities are for what I want to see. If you look at old practices of philanthropy, so when you look at the traditional frameworks, wealthy white industrialist men, they built hospitals, they built schools, they built libraries, they built opera houses, because that was the society they wanted to see. They didn't see that when for what they were doing. They built what they wanted to see, and they made the investment in what they wanted to see. So it was very much future thinking. It was very much forward thinking. And I think we do have to, incorporate that practice in what we do. When there's an article I just wrote with the data center. It's a report on philanthropy post Katrina and the recovery and where we are 20 years from now or from there. One of the people I interviewed talked a lot about, prior to Katrina, they had some community work done. They were doing community work where they were talking about what they wanted to see in their communities. Katrina happened, an influx of funding happened. So they were able to be really strategic in taking that funding to not only address the urgent, immediate need, but also to do so in a way that was going to get them to the vision that they had already prepared for 5 years ahead. So that is a non-negotiable. You have to find the space to do that. And I know disproportionately, we don't have the luxury, we don't have the privilege, we don't have the self-care models and opportunities that allow for that. But that's a fight we just have to fight. Like you got to get yourself time in. You have to, even if it's going outside in your backyard and looking up in the sky and looking at clouds for 2 minutes, that unlocks something. So giving myself the space to dream and vision gives me hope for us not having to be the first at everything all the time.
Now, you talked about like the philanthropic space, and I know I'm familiar with your work and your passion behind that, and working in the nonprofit sector. And I'm going to misquote this, but I hope you get what I'm trying to say. But in one of the guests, which he's actually a brother, an alpha to Eddie, but he works in the nonprofit sector too. But nonprofits are, in terms of like hierarchy with like private sector, it's like one of the leading spaces that drives society. I think I'm saying that right. So you being in that space, and being intentional about the work and stuff that you do, and as it relates to the D9, because we are philanthropic organizations first. What is your advice or some ways to better serve each other internally with our network, which is one of the greatest ever, and how do we leverage our collective means of being philanthropic organizations to collectively change things systematically, economically, educationally, and the whole nine?
That's a big question.
That's a big question.
It's a really big question.
It is. And I'm forever, the reason why I ask is I'm forever searching for, because I'm like with this podcast, right? I know that's a piece, it's a piece to bring together community. And that's what it's all about, is to bring together and to serve each other, serve each other by serving the broader community, right? By identifying our strengths, and our strengths are with people because people have resources. So, the podcast is to serve that effort, you know what I mean? But at the same time, there are other people within the network that have been on the podcast that we can collectively do something, to drive that goal of things being normal, because we're still in a fight. So anyway, getting back to the question, yes, that's a big question, but I'm always in search of the answer, because I know that there is one and there's a simple solution, but experts like you who are doing the work every day can bring us closer to the answer.
Right.
That's what I'm. Yeah.
It's an important question. It's a big question. I think that we can look to the founding of many of our organizations, because the eras and the times that they were established look pretty similar to to what we are facing now. So the more
Right.
things change, the more they stay the same. So we th- there are some stark similarities. So we can look to um, how many of our organizations were founded, how they brought together um, this diversity of skill set and perspective and life experience to shape our respective organizations, and then also the shaping of the National Panhellenic Council as well. So looking at the formation of those collectives from through a historical lens um, can give us some guides in doing that. Going back to our intents and purposes and missions in our founding. Um, and I don't know how to say this. I'm going to be as diplomatic as possible, but we have a lot of with so many different identities represented in our organizations. We also have a lot of different motivations for why we are
Mm.
here. We have to find a way to get on the same page somewhere. So, service is at the core. We need to orient ourselves strategically around what the service what is our goal in service, and then we can start to place chess pieces. So if you have expertise in financial services and a network in that space, then how does that play into economic stability for our community? What can you do? What can you bring to the table? If you have expertise in medicine, if you have expertise in law and those related networks, what can you do from where you sit? When we start to take the positioning of what you can do from where you sit, it it really starts to reframe some of our traditional frameworks of engagement, some of our traditional frameworks of what it means to be active, what some
Mm.
of our traditional frameworks of what it means um, to lead. There are so many people who I know are Greek, and they hold expertise in specifically in nonprofits and philanthropy. And now one of them has been asked to sit on a foundation board.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
so
Wow.
and a lot of that goes back to just how we've operated, just how we've gotten into a rhythm of operating. I'm not saying that some of the pathways to lead organizational leadership are wrong, but I am saying that they should be they should be looked at very closely, interrogated, and possibly reimagined. Like how can we improve them? How can we expand this? How can we, if they're and I know a lot of people are not going to like this, but if people are not able to be financial for whatever reason, should they be exiled
Well,
from the organ like that? It's a real question.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they do still have value. They still have
Mhm.
value. They still if and I know this is a business. It takes money to run. It takes, we got insurances to pay. However, however, um, if you really want um, if you really want to maximize the opportunity of the talent that you hold, you truly have to maximize all of that talent. And some of that
Mhm.
talent is just not being utilized, and it's going in other directions. It's going, people are focusing on other things. I say this as somebody who has not always been financial, has not always been active in a chapter, but I have always represented Zeta.
Mhm.
So, those are things that we have to really consider how we relate to one another, and then mobilize that. Like take that, go there. All of our organizations do things. We have political initiatives or political civic engagement initiatives that we are involved in. Um, Continue to do that work and continue to figure out how we can leverage more voice and how we can garner more power in those spaces. You know, when you look at various elections, we are hosting voter registration drives. Some organizations are engaging in PAC work. You know, there's so many different ways that um, we can garner our collective capacity and potential to really move the ball. I don't know the numbers on how many people are represented in our Greek organizations population wise, but I'd be really interested to do kind of, and I'm sure somebody's done this comparative study around voter engagement and the presence of Greek organizations or Greek activity, Black Greek activity in any one given district. So those are conversations that we need to be having.
Mm-hmm.
We also have a very significant presence intellectually. So some of these studies that are unique to Greek organizations, and there is a thankfully a strong population of Greeks who are doing the research, but we need more. We need more of us who are studying issues and things that are unique to the communities that we care most about. And if a doctorate is your pathway of doing that, cool, but you can also be a public scholar. Like, there's nothing saying that you have to hold a PhD um, to research. There's a such thing as public scholars. Yes, there's training that you get. There's a very specific training that you get, but there are no limitations on that. You
Mm-hmm.
can partner with someone if you don't have the research, or if you don't have the methods background, or the theoretical background to do certain work. So I think really assessing the landscape, assessing what the outcomes we want to see, going back to our roots, going back to our grounding, and then moving chess pieces, putting people on the board where they're best positioned to excel. So, I work in philanthropy. Please don't always put me on the fundraising committee. Like, don't always have me selling
Because
popcorn. I don't I
that's
don't
not what
sell.
it is.
That's not what it is.
It's not what it is.
I do strategic
Well,
philanthropy. I do a different kind of philanthropy. There's a value to selling popcorn. I'm sorry, y'all. Value to selling them, and
and
I'm apologizing to
and
like
and
all
uh
my Greek friends who have
and
asked me to buy
candy
popcorn and candy. Oh
and
goodness,
candy and donuts and it,
candy, donuts. I like the chocolate covered almonds, but that's not like if you have if you're trying to tackle housing access in in an urban community, the $25,000 popcorn sale, it has a place, but it's not gonna address a systemic, in some cases multi-billion-dollar issue.
mhm,
We've got to figure out how to move that ball down the road in a very strategic and intentional way. Partnerships is another piece of that. So all of us, I think, by virtue of membership requirements, are affiliated with a college or a university.
right.
So what does that partnership with those types of institutions look like? And most colleges and universities are civic anchors for whatever community they exist in. So they hold a lot of power, they hold a lot of influence, they hold a lot of impact. Many
Mhm,
colleges, as I think about Tulane is the large. Last time I checked, the largest employer in the city of New Orleans. And if all the Black Greeks on Tulane's campus leveraged that, like they activated that lever, and they are engaged in community, they are. but thinking about how do you as an undergrad, how do you as your graduate chapter network, how do you on the state level, how do you on the regional level map to different organizations and different partners that you have affiliations with to move the needle? How many Greeks hold leadership positions in power companies? How many Greeks hold leadership positions in retail? How many of us are present at those tables and can have a voice and can open a door and can move an initiative? Those are the partnerships we need to start exploiting and maximizing in this work.
That's why I was really excited to have this conversation, because of the way you think, and putting it out there. Thinking it is one thing, and spitballing is another
Mhm.
thing. But you are doing this every day, and having this conversation and putting these ideas out there is what I was hoping, and couldn't wait to get to. So thank you for sharing that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I really hope that it resonates well, because my thing is, we got all we need.
Mhm.
We have it. We have it.
Mhm.
We just gotta do it, and not
We gotta
be
do it.
scared, and not be radical, but
Mhm.
be strategic, like
Mhm.
you've spoken about. So
Mhm.
you've built systems, you've built programs, you have founded organizations, you have a track record of doing the work. What has been the most purpose defining moment that you can recall that helps you to continue to want to do what you're doing now?
Mm. You got all the hard questions. You got the
I'm
soul
sup-
searching
I'm sup-
questions.
I'm supposed to.
You're
I'm
supposed to.
supposed.
This
I'm
is,
supposed
and they are
to. Thank you.
excellent questions. They
Thank
like
you.
you making me
But
reflect on. Like I might go write a book after this. Like,
I hope so. No, I hope so, Halima, because this is
yeah.
the thing, and I've expressed this to you before, but I'm being so real. You
Mhm.
are a brilliant mind. Like
Thank you.
you are a brilliant mind, and I'm just so impressed with how fluid you are with it. And
Thank you.
people need
Thank
to
you,
know
sis.
that. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm so serious. People need to know that, because, the work is just beginning. I mean, it really is, because we are in a moment, like you mentioned, that things are going to either completely repress, or
Mhm.
they're going to progress.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's super important to hear from people like you, who are making it happen every single day.
Mhm.
And that's just real talk. I mean, that's just real
Thank
talk.
you.
So
Thank you.
sorry for the thought provoking questions, but it's intentional.
I appreciate the affirmation, and I it inspires me, and it reminds me that I have I still have work to do. Like I still have purpose. I've been doing this for as long as I can remember in some form or fashion. Like even as a child, I was curious about how do we put our money together to make a difference. So I was a Girl
Man,
Scout. I was always thinking about those things. And there were moments where I would have a negative experience or somebody would do something to hurt my feelings. And I would always say, my mother reminds me this all the time. Do you remember what you said when that person told you that they would get to you whenever they felt like it? And I said, no, mama, what did I say? And she said, when you told me that when you're in a position to help somebody, you're going to help them. And I was like,
mm,
okay, all right. And that's who I've always been, though. That's how I've always processed hurt. That's how I've always processed disappointment. Um, that's just who I am. And I don't know any other way to be. And when I've tried to be other ways, it just never worked out.
Right.
Um, but your question of defining moments, I've had a few that have constantly inspired me. And some of them I reference, like learning about Zora Neale Hurston, the work I did at Barnard. I worked in fundraising in the annual fund in that role. So mobilizing a group of women in their giving around increasing education access for students that look like them or that shared
Mm.
experiences with them. Another institution I worked at, there was a gentleman I met who couldn't attend because he couldn't attend another institution because they had quotas of Jewish students. And he said that he gave so audaciously um, because it would be difficult for you not to admit somebody who shared a name and who shared a likeness of his if his name is on the building. So that's how he positioned his philanthropy. Um, there are students that I've worked with who said, I messed up at some point in my life, in my career. I'm not even sure I can get into your program. Will you mentor me? Will you give me another chance? Will you? And being intentional about approaching those requests from a space of dignity and love, because I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes. I struggled through undergrad. I was not always as focused. So I see you, and I'm not going to sit here and be like, I made you. You owe me to. No, we're not doing that. I'm going to put you in position to be great because I know you can do it. Period. In the discussion. If you have a challenge, if you have an issue, I'm right here. I got your back. And I will see you struggling. I will see you, and I'll come in and do what I can do. Another defining moment I'm an emotional person. I cry. So it was one of my programs, kind of early convenings, and we had our residency, and I got like the lump came. It hit me like hard, and I was giving closing remarks. I was like, ah, and it was tears. It was just tears. Oh dear God, I am the director of this program. I'm grown. I've been doing this work, and I can't even keep my composure. What is going on? So I stopped the program. I said, okay, y'all, what you all witnessed was my humanity. I'm human.
Mm.
And I care so deeply about this work that I will likely cry. This probably won't be the last time y'all see me cry. So until I can figure that part out, then, this is what you're going to get. And it's because I'm human. It's because I care. This is how I express. You don't have to express the same way, but what I am saying is acknowledge that you are human in the work that you
Mm.
do, regardless of the work that you do. Students came up to me and they were like, Dr. Leak Francis, you freed me. You gave me, and
Ooh.
some of my faculty, they were like, you know what, that I've been struggling with such and such. I've been struggling with such and such, and I've been feeling like I just got to show up strong. And I'm like, no, you just got to show up human. That's all you
Mm.
can do. That is all you can do is show up human.
Mm.
So those are some moments that just really, and I'm again crying. Those are some moments that have been defining for me, and they are moments where, as I said earlier, I bring myself. I just
Mm.
show up as who I am and what I care about and what I know, and acknowledging that in my humanity I am not perfect. In my humanity I do have value. Um, in my humanity and in the work that I have done, I have expertise. I have a voice. I know what I know. I don't know everything, but I know what I know, and it means
Mm-hmm.
something. And we can figure the rest out. I can construct a team. I can build a community where we complement each other rather than everybody knowing the same thing and everybody's fighting to, prove that they're the biggest dog in the like. We don't have time for that. Because we are literally in the fight for our lives.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have time for posturing. We don't have time for not bringing the full power of our strength of who we are to the table. We don't have time for it. So I have a relentless spirit in that way.
Mm-hmm.
There, I also have to keep people around me to remind me to eat, to remind me to sleep, to remind me to exercise and take care of myself. I'm coming up on a year of being a breast cancer survivor. So that was also a life changing. Yeah. A lot of bomb drop. Yeah. That, sorry, I didn't share that before. But coming up on a year that
My.
having Eddie, having family, having friends, having a sister network that spanned all of the Greek organizations, like having another chance at life, I see things completely differently. Yeah.
So I'm going to interrupt you, and
Yeah.
you tell Mr. Eddie he did not mention that before, and I know that we've been in communication for at
Yeah.
least half the year. So you tell him I'm upset with him, but I love him, but I'm upset with him that he did not mention that
That wasn't his
before.
story to tell.
Yeah, you're right, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying,
It, yeah,
because
I
I
get it.
led Halima. I led with how's Halima? How's your better half? I led with that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Eddie,
Yeah. He held me down. Like that brother, you know when you got somebody when they will stand up for you against medical practitioners. So when they
mm,
will, I've gotten into the space of medical advocacy because of personal experience. So I've become acutely aware of what the system, like what when we go to a hospital, when we get a diagnosis, when we are navigating decisions in that space. Thankfully, I work in public administration and philanthropy and nonprofits, so I'm in a position to analyze the experience a little bit differently.
mm-hmm,
And there's a lot of work to be done.
mm,
When I say that we are literally fighting for our lives, we are. Um,
wow,
Food access, housing, environmental impacts that play a role in these chronic conditions that we see that pervade throughout our community. That's real. That's
wow,
real, and the impacts are coming faster. Like I met so many young sisters, younger than me, at my age. I'm not yet 50, who have been diagnosed with breast cancer,
wow,
and it was stacked out. Like I was sharing, like, yeah, I'm going through. I'm about to have have a procedure done, have a mastectomy, da 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 da. Oh, girl, I had breast cancer 5 years, and that was like rapid fire, and I was like, what?
wow,
Why does everybody like what is happening? What is
right.
happening?
Well, that I mean,
And
and that's the same conversation like with fibroids, and
yes,
that's a whole yeah. It's a
yeah, our health.
talking to each other. Yes,
Mhm,
but talking to each other, we have so much more
mhm,
in
mhm,
common than we do not.
mhm,
And I'm glad that you are in this space to advocate and to make those conversations prevalent, because we got to do it, and
mhm.
we can only learn and accelerate our knowledge base, and then preventive things, by
Mm-hmm.
having those conversations. But let me ask you real quick, um a question. This is fill in the blank, and then I got another follow-up question for you.
Okay.
Philanthropy without what
Oh, geez.
is meaningless? It's
Without
another
love.
hard one. Come on.
No, I got that one.
Without love.
Without love.
Okay.
Philanthropy without love
Okay.
is meaningless. It's rote. It's useless. Meaningless, useless, misdirected, ill-informed. If you don't have love at the root of your philanthropy, and I don't care what kind of philanthropy you do, even if you give to politics, like if political giving is your jam, if love is not present, you might as well not even do it. It's got some other, the outcome just isn't, you're not in a position to make the best decisions about how
Mhm.
to use these resources. And love is, I think, the most effective thing to put you in that position.
So, in terms of having a voice in that philanthropic space
Mhm.
and it mattering,
Mhm.
right? Give your advice is not the word, but give your, I guess, most encouraging nugget to encourage people to dig deeper than just, saying, I'm a AK or I'm a Zeta, I'm a Delta. Yeah, I go to chapter meeting. We do this event that we do every year, and we raise $1 million for XYZ. Speak to that, and what that voice
Mhm.
needs to understand why you have to dig deeper when you're in this space.
We have to dig deeper in this space. What I'll say is think about those you love the most. Think about what they have experienced. Think about what you want to heal for them, and think about what you hope for them. And think about the position and the resources and the communities that you sit in that can do those things. Think about your child. Think about your parents. Think about your brothers, sisters, cousins, your community members who you hope for joy for them. You hope for resources for them. You hope for stability for them. You hope for a future for them. And then think about where you sit in the network that you're a part of and what they have the capacity to do. So we have organizations that have elder initiatives. I love my 70-some-year-old parents. So I want them to have healthy and whole lives, and I want them to be with me for as long as possible. We have organizations that have literacy initiatives, that have healthcare initiatives, that have housing and economic prosperity. We have all of it. Dig in, because you are doing things for those people that you love most dearly. And when they ask you, what do those letters on your chest mean? It means that I'm doing XYZ for the people that I really care about, for my community and for the people I love. When somebody who is not affiliated with your organization says, well, what do y'all do? You need that should not be a hard answer for you. That should
Right.
not be a hard answer for you. Whether it be internal in the organization or how you represent the organ, because you are always a representative of the organization. So I say that we should approach it. The advice that I would give is approach it from a positioning of envisioning very clearly whose life you're making a difference in.
Wow.
It's more than
Wow.
service hours. It is so much more than
Right.
service hours. And that's, it's more than service hours. It's more than documenting the picture. It is so much more. It is so much more.
It is a micro perspective.
Yes,
Totally.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, I found out some information. I was in shock and awe, and I learned something from this conversation, and I knew it was going to be all of this and then some. And
Eddie's
tell him
peeking. He
I'm
just
mad at
peeked
him.
in.
Yeah,
He
tell him
just
I'm
peeked
mad
in.
at him, but tell him I'm mad at him. It's all good though. I still love you. What's up, my brother? But 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 thank you.
Yes.
Like thank you. You are. You are.
Thank you.
You are. And from the moment we spoke some years ago to today, you just are.
Thank you.
And I'm getting emotional, so we're gonna cut.
Thank
getting,
you for this opportunity and for this platform.
I'm
you,
getting
you
emotional.
are doing amazing work. So I really,
Well,
it's an honor to be able to talk to you and be here with you.
I looked back, Halima, at one of the conversations that we had from the Divine Agenda, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, this is right. These are the people. This is the inspiration, and I thank you for taking the time to revisit what the foundation that was established then, because I know with my everything in my bones that this is what we're supposed to do, and I say we because we're family. So thank you for being a part of Grown in Greek. Thank you for being my sister. Thank you for being who you are, because like I said, you are. You are. Dr. Halima Leak Francis, thank you so much. Please tell everybody how to reach out, how to keep in touch, how to follow you. I know you have published some articles that I'm reading. I got started and I need to finish. But yeah, how can people keep up with you?
So the easiest way is following me on LinkedIn. So that's how you can just generally keep up with the work that I'm doing. It's if you look up Halima Leak Francis, I'll pop right up on LinkedIn. Also, if you have specific questions about anything that is in kind of my realm of research, practice, expertise, I'm open to those things. So feel free to reach out to me directly. You can email me. My email address is Halima, that's HALIMA at tulane.edu. And we can connect that way. So those are the two best ways to keep up with me and to learn more about what I'm doing.
Oh man. Okay. You just are. I'm just gonna keep saying that.
Thank you.
Y'all, this wraps another episode. I hope you are as full as I am, and grateful for the opportunity to learn and to commune with another sister who is just everything and then some. So please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe to the podcast on podcast platforms and on YouTube. And until next time, the Grown in Greek podcast is out. And thank you again, Halima. Dr. Halima Leak Francis.
Thank you so much.
You can support Grown in Greek by subscribing to the podcast, shopping our exclusive luxury accessory line, or purchasing books from the D9 Book Club by visiting our website at growninggreekpodcast.com. Don't forget to like, comment, and share on social media at Grown in Greek Podcast. Thanks for watching.